So welcome everyone to today's webinar. It's myself, Rachel. I am the Program and Partnership Director here at Grandview Consulting. And we have the lovely Christine Bourget, the CEO and owner of Grandview Consulting. So thanks for joining us. Today's webinar is on the topic, change your culture, change your occupancy. So we're really excited about today's topic. It's the second one of our summer series. And if you're kind of curious what our first one was and you didn't get a chance to see it, it is actually posted on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is Grandview Consulting. There's a few other videos on there as well that might be of interest. So I am going to pass it over to Christine. She'll introduce kind of who Grandview is and get into today's topic. We'll be here for about half an hour, and then we'll have some questions at the end.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I might have a little bit of an echo just where I'm located right now, but I'll try to talk really clearly and we'll get going. So the topic today is change your culture will change your occupancy. We know this because as a consulting firm, we change occupancy for a lot of different organizations. So just a little housekeeping about us. Grandview has been around since 2013. We basically provide consulting and management services for both operational and occupancy development in the mature market. We work with developers and established operators. So developers, it could be lease up, it could be property management. Operators, it could be renovating that occupancy or reigniting the occupancy. Our whole philosophy is around changing your occupancy and improving your operational performance, bring value to your asset. Okay, so, I guess the question we should ask today is, have you ever wondered, or maybe this is like a ponder, have you ever wondered why your competitor is full and you're not? We all work in a marketplace, whether you have one, whether you have two, whether you have 10 other retirement communities surrounding or in a general radius of your community. Why is one of them full and the rest have vacancy? I guess the other thing you could ask is this, why are they all full? But one is always, why are they all vacant, but one is always full? The reality is there is something special happening at that one that's always full. And it doesn't always necessarily have to do with price. A lot of us, when it comes to objections, we think, okay, the prospect is not choosing us because of price, because of service, because of lack of amenities, because we're older, because we're newer, because of our location. That's not always the reason. In fact, that's probably not the real reason. The real reason that buildings are full and others are not comes down to culture. So I always like to say, especially when I'm training sales people, I can train you for sales skills. I can make you a deep thinker when it comes to how you interact with seniors and how you advance those seniors through the process. But the reality here is sales doesn't matter if you don't have the customer experience or the service culture in your building. People will feel it. Have you ever walked into a store and immediately felt welcomed, felt, there was a warmth, you wanted to hang out there a little bit longer, you felt included, you felt welcome? That's all psychology. And psychology is something in these various different industries is implemented strategically. It's not done by default. It's actually done on purpose. So, the hotel industry, the coffee industry, even the retail industry if you start to pay attention to how people interact with you and the sights, sounds, smells you experience, all of those things bring you into that environment and make you want to stay. They're evoking an emotional response is what they're doing. So you might ask yourself, you might say, as I'm talking, well, we do customer service really well. We have customer service. But do you really have that ingrained service culture where every single one of your staff treats your residents the same way every time? So customer experience starts with your culture. When you apply the term culture to retirement homes, it needs to be the lifeblood of a vibrant community. It starts with defining that voice and vision of your residents, but then living and breathing it. So there's lots of places out there that have mission statements, but they don't necessarily follow them. They're only as good as you follow them. So culture is a way of life. It's the interactions we have with each other, the way we make others feel, and what we hold most important. So in our industry, there's types of culture. And with COVID, certain cultures started to creep forward. We live in Canada, and in healthcare, Canada has a very big, strong clinical culture. So retirement homes, especially in COVID times, many, especially the ones that I find are starting to see challenges in their occupancy, they adopted a clinical protection, IPAC focused culture. Not saying that's bad, because we definitely needed that in COVID, but they started to lose the service culture. And the service culture sometimes is the compassion and the empathy and the customer service that we speak and communicate with our residents and staff. Sales culture is something where it's ingrained in the community that everybody understands that this is a private business. Even though we're in the healthcare world, a retirement home doesn't operate without the occupants and the rental revenue. So sales culture is where everybody understands where that operation is coming from and is focused on really advancing those prospects and welcoming those prospects, staging those prospects. Now, sales culture does segue and really cross with hospitality and service culture. So if you're thinking about this as, how can I implement some of this to really change my culture? You really need to look at how hotels, how the coffee industry, how certain restaurants and certain retailers evoke that emotional experience from that prospect. Customer service is definitely one thing. Providing great hospitality is another thing. But understanding what makes people, human beings, what makes them, do things will help you develop that culture. Now, here's one that I often see, unfortunately, in a retirement residence that's struggling for occupancy. It's the me first culture, the not my job culture. So me first and not my job and clinical culture can be really, really challenging to occupancy because your staff are the key to pretty much full occupancy. Your staff live and breathe by whatever culture you put out there. So if you, as the management team, are breathing customer service and hospitality and service, then you've set that as a standard, then your staff should do that as well, and that's part of their job. That could even be written into their job descriptions. That could be written into your training and orientation process. But I will tell you that I do come across a number of residents that have a deeply rooted clinical and not my job culture. So that's something that you definitely have to look at, because the service culture is something that is how can I help you versus how can I help myself. So can we improve? Can you get out of this? Yes, you can. Absolutely. So the key to always remember is that we are a private business, and educate the rest of your team that this is a private business. We don't have jobs. We don't exist if we don't have the rent coming from these suites that we have. So we need to focus on value. What kind of value are you bringing to the residents? The customer service and hospitality is the fundamental aspects of the operation. That's a double slide. So let me get into the nuts and bolts of this. What areas are important to creating that service culture? So one, first and foremost, you have to want it. Everybody has to want it. Everybody has to live and breathe it. So you and the entire team must want to improve. You must have a continuous quality improvement mindset. I will tell you, recently we were called into a residence that had extreme occupancy challenges, and nobody in that building was coachable. None of them would take on suggestions. And if you're not willing to hear the feedback, then you're going to have a real good challenge improving your culture and how you interact with people. I think it's really important that you be open to feedback, welcome feedback, listen to feedback, and then be proactively addressing that feedback. So the ability to listen to that construction feedback is important. And then the biggest thing, you have to want it, and then you have to behave in that customer service focused mindset, because your behavior, how you interact with people, breeds how your staff will interact with people. Oh, that's the wrong number there. So the first thing you're going to do after you've decided you want to change your culture is you're going to sit down and you're going to maybe bring in your whole management team and do a little brainstorming and create what I call the voice and vision of a community. So you have a mission statement, you have a vision statement. Have you ever kind of sat down and mapped out what sort of retirement residence you want to be? A realistic look at your position in the market. Where do you fit? And how do you foresee everything from when that first resident moves in to how you're going to interact with families, what they're going to expect on that first day, on the first week, first month, and every day there in between? What is a prospect going to experience? What does all of that look like? That's the voice and vision of your community. How are they going to feel? And then you're going to create next is standards. So you have to establish standards, and then you have to live by them. So if you're going to be a 5-star residence, then you must live up to a 5-star standard. If you're going to be maybe a little bit more of an economical option, then you're going to want to live up to those standards. Well, actually, I probably want to elevate those standards and always strive for better, but you want to create some standards. Without standards, you're running amok. It's free willy-nilly all over the place. So some standards you want to look at are, your voice and vision, those are standards. What your building appearance looks like, your staff appearance, how they communicate, your staff communication. What are your service standards? How does the dining room staff serve the residents? I was recently in a building, a more economical building, a more country building, where they were serving meals with the pots on a cart, wheeling them through the aisles of the dining room. And I was like, guys, I know that you're an economical option, but let's try to do better than this. We can do better than this. So it's always about improving, but setting standards is key, because again, we don't have them. People slowly erode that, and it then becomes a couple years down the road, and all of a sudden, whatever you thought the voice and vision was, it was taken over by one of the staff that changed that. And they tried to make it easier for their job versus better for the residents, if that makes sense. So create service standards, hospitality standards, and experience standards. How will people, what are they going to experience? The next thing on the list here is happy staff. You need to have, that's the hands down #1 formula for success. That building that is full, that we talked about earlier, they have staff that are happy to come to work. When you walk through the door, everybody's smiling, they're laughing, they're interacting, they're looking at each other in the eyes, they're asking, how do you do? They're going out of their way. Happy staff fill buildings, period. It's easier said than done. So something that you always have to be working towards. How do you motivate your team? How do you recognize your team? Motivating staff is not as simple as just saying, I'm going to have a party. You have to continuously work on it. So it's something to think about. Happy residents and happy families. This is the next part. Part of your culture needs to be focused on resident and family first. So again, remember it's not my job, it's me first culture. In this case, because we're service oriented, we need to serve and put their needs first all the time. So we need to manage their expectations, and we need to over communicate. So oftentimes what I'm finding is a lot of retirement residences don't have the care conferences that they perhaps should be having. They don't have regular newsletters or communication tools or regular meetings with the residents. And what happens is then people start to stew. They start to stew on expectations that they thought, or things that they thought are happening that should be happening aren't happening. You need to get in front of that, because that's negative. Anytime you let somebody stew on an expectation or a thought, it could go down a rabbit hole of negative thinking, and then that leads to dissatisfied residents, which then leads to bad PR. So the other thing you need to do is you need to handle your grievances really well. This is something that the hotel industry has mastered. When a hotel guest is unhappy, even for the slightest of reasons, even if it's true or not true, there is a way to handle that grievance that the person walks away feeling satisfied that they were heard and that there is a resolution. Now, we deal with a lot of different cognitive abilities, a lot of different emotions, so we get a lot of grievances. So having a program or training on how to handle grievances will go very, very far to your benefit down the road. It's the last one here. It's all in the details. So details are everything. How far you go with those details will speak directly to your culture. So a service culture, the details go above and beyond every time. So, taking pride in your workspace, the appearance of your workspace, the appearance of the building. Is your desk right to your desk? Right now, is your desk cluttered? If your desk is cluttered, do you bring people into your space? Do you show them a cluttered desk? That's pride that we want to make sure that they think, that they're feeling like we have pride in our workspace. If they think that your workspace is messy, they're going to assume other things are messy. You need to have a plan. You need to be thoughtful. I always tell people when it comes to sales, I'm like, as a salesperson, just imagine this. You are the nicest, most thoughtful neighbor on the block. And when somebody new moves in, you're the one that knocks on the door with the apple pie. And then you go in, you sit down, and you just have a genuine chat and get to know each other. That's the salesperson we're looking for in this industry. You want to anticipate needs and get in front of them, and just basically friendly, happy all the time. And I don't think I need to say consistency is key. Oh, I have one more. Go outside the box. This is big one. This is where people are winning. The full buildings are winning right now. Hard winning. You know, there's people that have regressed to doing it the way that they've always done it. And with COVID times, we've really had to kind of figure out different ways to do things. So in moving forward, the ones that really go outside the box are the ones that are getting more move-ins, getting more deposits, because people are now looking for more in their life. They're looking for, you know, that experience. So I tell people, be goofy, be silly, make people smile, make them laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. If you can make somebody laugh, or if you can show people, you know, using social media, look, this building over here had blow up sharks and dinosaurs dancing around the lawn, and the residents were shooting Nerf guns at them. Or the shark was hosting a Jaws night or Shark Week. Stuff that is not bingo. Stuff that isn't stereotypical a retirement residence. When you think outside the box, like, let's have a disco. Let's have disco night every Friday night. Outside the box, what people don't expect to happen at a retirement residence, that's where you want to be. That's the secret spot right now, and that's what you should be doing. But you have to be consistent. You can't do it once. You got to do it. You have to adopt this as part of your culture now. And if you do this, I promise this will pay off tenfold. Just doing this one thing here, you will increase your occupancy. So customer service and hospitality. I'm almost done, I promise. Customer service versus clinical focus. So good customer service means providing timely, attentive, upbeat service to a customer, and that making their needs are met in a manner that reflects positively on the company or business. So can you deliver customer service while providing care and keep residents safe? Yes, 100% you can. You have to want it. Remember we talked about it? Because it's effort. It does add another layer to your daily work. But if you want it, customer service culture is going to be about anticipating the needs and going above and beyond them. I guess if I were to say this to you and say customer service or service culture versus clinical culture, I would say the queen is coming, or your favorite celebrity is coming, or somebody of high importance is coming. You know, how would you want the appearance of the community look? How would you look? Would you maybe do your hair a little extra better that day, or, you know, wear your nicer dress? How would you like the queen to be greeted? What would be the first impression? Would you put the extra decorations outside? Would you have some treats available? Would you have everybody, you know, make sure everybody had their name tag on and were ready and excited? You know, what would the building look like? What are some of the things that would be happening? So treat everybody, the service culture is about treating everyone like they're this VIP and giving them a great experience. That's paramount. So my last little bit on this presentation, which, you know, I know a lot of you already know this stuff, but this is about a reminder that you need to take it up. You need to take it up and look at your building with new eyes and ask and maybe instead of comparing yourself to the other retirement home, compare yourself to a hotel and ask yourself, you know, would the outside of my building look like, you know, the Fairmont or the Ritz-Carlton or, you know, another similar star hotel? Or would, you know, what would happen when you walk through the front doors? What is that expectation that would happen? I've walked into a few retirement communities that have kind of a resort feel. So maybe there should be resort style music playing, like, you know, take it with new eyes. But my last little slides here are culture equals value. So what is value? To an operator, value is two things. It's occupancy. So one, occupancy is the value of your offering, and is the value of your offering enough for your prospect to select your community over the competition? value doesn't have to always be money. Value could be good care, good staff, happy people. It could also be a sense of belonging. It could be like a psychological, emotional response. And two, value to an operator is the value of the asset. Does the value increase the financial worth of the asset? These are the two things that the operators will be looking for. So that's just a little overview, a little rant for a Wednesday, if have you. But I promise you, if you focus on a few key things, you will increase your occupancy. You have to be consistent. You have to want it, and things can really change by doing these small things long term, and they will change fast, over a period of time. So I'm happy to take questions or comments. I also want to let you know that we are going to be doing some upcoming training. It's called our Zero Vacancy Solution. We've run it a couple times now. It's sales training programs for seniors housing. We're going to be running them in October. You can reach Rachel at Grandview Consulting to register and get more information. We focus on kind of the psychology, the soft skills of selling, and the psychology seniors go through through the transition, giving you a lot of that background knowledge, and then we get into like the good stuff of how to manage objections and do all those things. So feel free to contact us. We'd love to meet you and see you there. Any questions for today? Rach, I can't see anything, so you're gonna have to be.
There's no questions right now, but feel free to ask if anyone has one. I do have a question for you, Christine. So we talked a lot about kind of existing buildings. Now, how would you apply this to something that hasn't been opened yet? So a lease up, new building.
So I was once asked at a presentation, like an event in the US. I was once asked by a US operator, how easy is it to fill a building before it opens? And I said, that's easy. Filling your building before it opens is easy. Filling it after it opens is harder. It's much harder. And part of it is because you can really hone in on the voice and vision of the community, and you can create those standards before it opens. If you try to do it after, as you guys might be going through now, you're going to be renovating some processes, right? Like if you have a bit of the it's not my job culture in your building or clinical culture, you're not going to be able to flip this overnight. You actually are going to need to be committed to this. And it's going to take some time, but it can happen, and it has happened to many others. But when it comes to developers, you can, once you create that service culture from the beginning, like anything else, it sticks. So, we certainly do like working with developers because our team can actually create that right out the gate, and then carry it through to the operation. And it works. Like we really can lease up a building quickly with putting that in place. And we use some of the psychology that we train at the Zero Vacancy Solution. There is some things that I'm not going to get on because it's a lot. It is a bit. I'm not going to get onto it today, but like there are some things that you can do to like really develop relationships and create that experience that creates raving fans. So I guess you'd have to call us to have a consultation about that one.
Well, thanks. Is there any other questions? Doesn't look like it. So if you do have questions that come up afterwards or you're too shy to ask in front of the group, you can, of course, email us at, well, my email is there, rachel@grandviewconsulting.ca or info@grandviewconsulting.ca. And I will be sending everyone a link afterwards with this recording. And thanks so much for joining us. We will probably be doing a fall series as well. Stay tuned for some upcoming webinars. Thanks again, Christine.
Bye, everyone.